Hello and welcome to a new episode of Pat's Chat. Today I have an awesome guest from Australia, very well known. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me today, Diana Nguyen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. And it's Diana Nguyen.
Oh, no, say again, please.
Nguyen.
Nguyen.
So think of a new item,
New
and wind.
and wing, new wing.
That's it.
Okay, awesome. Let me just call you Diana, please, for this talk today. So you're very inspirational. You're very funny. I just had to focus before we started because it's just started hilarious here. You're an actress. You're a stand-up comedian. You're a TV host, MC. Yourself, you prefer to call yourself an artist.
Yeah. They do all these things.
Do a lot of things. How do you do currently? How is the situation in Australia anyway?
With COVID-19, we're in stage 3, which means we can't have guests at our house. You're not meant to travel if it's not essential. But yeah, it's been a month now, so I think we've gotten used to it. I don't feel as claustrophobic as I did before. So it's been interesting to be at home and save a lot of money. That's what I've found. Save so much money.
Starting with the positive aspects already, right? Saving a lot of money. But as we just really discussed before, I really struggled to figure out where to start. You know, there's so many items, so many things, so many stories in your life. And probably I start with what I just struggled now most with is saying your Vietnamese name. So you're second generation Australian-Vietnamese. I found it funny that you mentioned your mom reminds you that you're basically a Vietnamese-Australian. How you feel today? I mean, you struggled, I can understand, in your childhood to figure out where you really belong, what you are, but how is it today?
That's a really good question. It's something that I've been invited to schools to talk to a lot of students about intergenerational conflict. So a little backstory is that my mum came to Australia by boat after the Vietnam War, and I was the eldest child. And being the eldest child, there's this massive expectation to see, but also in that is to learn the language and also to be part of the culture of Vietnamese. And I found it very hard to be Australian and Vietnamese at the same time because they're very conflicting. You know, the Australian way of life is like, be free, be whoever you want to be individual. But then the Vietnamese culture is, you know, family is number one. And your dreams are part of the family's goals. So I did have a lot of trouble understanding it. And, you know, I had conflict with my mum when I was a teenager. But I can say with maturity, and I spoke about it when I was on a TV show, I did say that with maturity, I have now really understood what my mother's sacrifice was. And I wish I had known this earlier so that I wasn't a shit child.
That's how it is, right? Mostly our parents want the best for us, but we cannot understand when we're a kid. However, when we grow up, then we will probably understand better.
Yeah, you can't understand the sacrifices they made, but also I think it's also for them to learn who you are. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important that it's not a one-way conversation, but it's two-way. The parents need to meet you at the middle. It can't be the child goes all the way to the parent side. And that's where the conflict is.
Mm-hmm. I understand. And reading through a couple of the post articles I did, and even some of the videos, your mother plays really a major role in your life. And I came across this one article that you wrote, 5 ways to disappoint your mother. And that was really... Well, it's on one side, it's a funny way that you put it. I think you're coping with your past really in this post, but also it tells a lot about your past and like the childhood that you had, which was not always easy. Above all, like her expectation is that you become a doctor, but then eventually you ended up you changed your mind was to become an artist. But guys, a little bit through this time and like how this conflict really worked out in the end.
Yeah, yeah. That's when I wrote that. That was my release. I wrote that 12 years ago, so I was in my very early 20s, and a lot of students have really connected to that story. When my mum first heard that I had written this short story, she wanted to sue me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but you can't sue the writer because the writer experienced it. So it was very funny. My mother did feel like, oh, you're going against, there's this Asian culture where it's no one's business. It's family business.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't go and overshare.
Mm-hmm.
But also the Asian community is very good at gossiping. So I'm not sure how that all works out. But by writing that short story, I have to say it changed my work as an artist, because instead of me reading about someone else's experience, this was my experience on paper. Mm-hmm. And then it led me to write more work. So I did Fee and Me, I've done my stand-up shows. Like that short story gave me a voice. Mm-hmm. It has, it's extended me who I am now today. And, my mother's proud of me now. I don't disappoint her, except I'm not married and I don't have children. But yeah, it's, parents' expectations, they always want the best for you. So there's never an end date at all, I don't think.
Yeah. You mentioned that your mother is your biggest fan nowadays, but you also mentioned that like once you had an audience in a university performance, where you saw her leaving the performance, and also like for 2 years she never came to one of your show. I mean that must really hurt a lot, also.
Yeah, it did. It happened when I was 17 years old, and I think anything that happens as a teenager, it's impactful. Like there's sentiment, there's shit in it. Yeah, and I remember and when it happened a second time, I was like, that's it. We're cutting this. We're putting the boundaries. You cannot come see my show and do that again to me. But it all changed when I did Miss Saigon. And she loved seeing her story, because Miss Saigon's about the Vietnam War. So that's where our relationship healed.
Okay, I understand. That's awesome. I'm really happy to hear also that like kind of small family tragedies then end up in a good way. And today she's really happy. I think probably many students can resonate with that stories, because they have the very same thing. I mean, I don't know for Australia, I know for Europe and Asian, the differences in cultures. Sometimes I'm surprised, right? What is the focus, and like the 5 things that you mentioned in this paper is really like also not only the bias, but it's the stereotypes that we understand, like Westerns understand of Asian, like in general. So I really like that small story that you put together. But also one of the funny things I just wanted to touch here is the question about your boyfriend. I mean, you had a Chinese boyfriend, and one of the hilarious things, like she said, like, oh, anything, it can be anything, not a Chinese, and also not a Vietnamese, because Vietnamese would cheat and gamble. I mean, that's funny. But you made your way with your Chinese. Well, you got kicked out of your home, or you left the home when you were only 18. But what really reconnected you in the end with your mother? What was the bonding that you had in the end?
It was in 2010. So I decided to go to Vietnam and do a 2-month pilgrimage trip, south of Vietnam all the way to the north to Sapa for 2 months. And my mum there at the end of the trip. So I went with my girlfriends, and then I went back to My Tho on the Mekong Delta, where my mum's from. And my mum and I spent 2 weeks together, just us two. And when I think about it now, it was the best thing that could happen for a mother and daughter. It's the longest time I'd been with my mum since my sisters were born. That makes, like, my sisters are 4 years younger than me, so I had a good 4 years with my mum. But I felt that trip really healed and really made me understand what my mother went through. And then she started telling me her refugee experience, and that's how the switch flipped for me to go, oh, this is more than about my mum. This is about a whole generation that my mum did so that we would have a better life. Like, by my mum coming by boat, she changed the next 50 generations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think once you go back and you really see the reasons why there were refugees, right? I mean, that must change your mindset entirely also.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I have one more question. Then I leave the family stories. Currently, you're running a very, very popular show, Fee and Me, right? It's called. And you're playing like an older lady, right, with a kid. I mean,
Mum.
you're playing a mom. Are you playing your own mom?
It's a good question, but no, I'm not. It is a caricature of two mums. So the mum's character name is Kim Hoon. So my mum, Fiona's mum, who's the co-creator, her mum's name Kim and my mum's name Hoon. So we put our two mums together. So it's Kim Hoon. So it is the accumulations of all mums in Asia.
Okay. I mean, it represents really a lot of stereotypes, and when I watched the one or two episodes, it looked like wow, this is almost like you're telling your own story, but in a very funny way.
Yes, it's based in where Fiona and I grew up. So all those little journeys that Fee has is true, like except the dad bit. That's fictional. So it's based on true story, but it's not all true, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's a license when you're writing.
So how can you? So that was your own like book that you wrote, or how did you start with that?
So Fee and Me has been a 9-year journey. So 2011, Fiona, who is a friend that I've known since I was in grade 4, we went to high school, university, and then after seeing a comedy festival, I went to her and said, we've got to write something about growing up in Springvale. We've got to write about what's like to be an Asian child. So then we started writing and performed it in 2011 at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And we got 4-star, 4.5-star reviews, sold out, with people lining up like a snail trail. It was brilliant. And from that, like, we did it for about 5 years live on stage. And then we realised that there was no way we could sustain a living, because there's no money in theatre, really, unless you know, get booked on tour. So that's where the web series idea was, like, we could just click a button and you could just watch it at home. Yeah. And that's why it took 5 years to make the web series.
Okay, awesome. Now you're just saying, like, okay, theater is one thing, the stand-up comedian that you're doing is another thing. You were touring with the stand-up comedy, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so in Melbourne, where I live and I'm based, the Melbourne Comedy Festival is the second largest comedy festival in the world. So there's Edinburgh, Scotland, Melbourne Comedy Festival, and Montreal just for laughs. So I was going to do 26 shows in 22 days. Wow, so that was my money maker. That was my work portfolio. So it got cancelled because of COVID 6 weeks ago.
Oh, that's a pity. Yeah, I mean, many comedians are facing this struggle right now, and try to survive during this time until COVID or the lockdowns are really over. I think for you it's a little bit the same for the moment, but you find still a lot of time for a lot of other things. We talked about the acting before, and you always make fun of that, like, oh, I was acting in this show and that show, 20 seconds here, 20 seconds there. Yeah. What was your longest acting in a movie or TV show that you had?
The longest was when I was on a talk show for an hour. So it was live TV in Australia. I was on live TV for an hour. But for acting, I actually have a show that's coming out on Channel 10, a TV channel here in Australia next week. So that's a 5-minute role. So
yeah, good.
it's not. But the writer saw my work and fee in me, and then he wrote me into his show, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, awesome. Congratulations for that. So which is it? Well, you're very diverse, as we said. You're doing a lot of things. What is it? What that you like most for the moment? Is it being the actor, the comedian, the TV host, the producer? What is it that you like most?
For me, I've been weaving out. So I started as an actor, and I started stand up, and I started interviewing people. And I have to say, I really do enjoy interviewing people. Because I've got that show called Just Doing Karaoke, where I interview people and we sing karaoke at the end. I just love watching people when they trust me to sing with me. I reckon that is a very powerful and a very beautiful gift that people give to me. So I do love interviewing people and talking to people to find out what their juices are. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do love that immediate connection to people when I speak to them one-on-one.
That's awesome. I saw some of those. Again, also those are funny, very entertaining, and well, I'm very happy. This is my show, so you can neither make me sing nor can you make me also dance.
That's your choice.
yeah. So I'm really glad about that. And when I mentioned the dancing, that is like. Basically, this is the reason I connected with you on LinkedIn. Dancing Diana, that's a very awesome story itself also. And for me, I still remember right now exactly how the experience was for me. So I'm scrolling like the updates of my connections. I read some, and suddenly, there's like this dancing girl, and I was like, what the heck is that? What's wrong here? And I scroll, I continue, but it just made me smile, because it was kind of, well, it was entertaining, And, but the next day I saw another video, and there you were again. And then I was like looking into this, it's like, this is, kind of funny, and people debating what belongs on LinkedIn, what belongs on Facebook, and then I'm always like, yeah, but who really, says what belongs here or there? And you were really like just doing your thing, and I connect with you to see the videos and just like brought some joy, it's like scrolling through all the business stuff, and then you see like Dancing Diana. But I think you also like were facing with a lot of questions and opposition to that. Like, should you really do that on LinkedIn? Why did you do that? Why did you choose LinkedIn to do it really?
Well, do you know Nguyen? So she was the one who introduced me to LinkedIn. She got the beta for the LinkedIn video for the first time in 2017. So when she started making videos, she had 200,000 views in like one day. And then she went to me and said, get onto LinkedIn. I was like, no, that's I need to be on YouTube, not LinkedIn. But she said, no, get onto LinkedIn. Just go on there. I trust you. And I trusted her. And because I trusted her, my life has really changed. Not because of not just my artistry, but my own process as a creative entrepreneur. All these businesses that I've had, has really shifted who I am today. So you asked that question, why Dancing Diana? It's because I uploaded one video, it went viral. Now, the question everyone needs to ask themselves is, if a video goes viral once, do you stop or do you keep going?
Yeah, the question is, can you do it again, right?
Yes. So I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and people wanted to see it. That's why. I listened to my audience. My audience was telling me they wanted me to dance.
Okay, it completely makes sense. It's just like, I think you're probably the first and the only one who was capable of doing that. But in the end, it's part of your business, and then I think everyone is okay with that also. But still, the question: why well, do it on LinkedIn and not on Facebook? Or I mean, I see like you're promoting all your social media, but in LinkedIn you're the far most popular of all those.
Well, see, exactly what you said. On Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok now, there are actual dancers on there. On LinkedIn, it is a professional platform for professionals, yes?
Mm-hmm.
However, you don't have professional dancers. If I started to dance professionally as a ballerina, people would go, oh, that looks really beautiful, but I can't do that. But when I dance, I'm just moving my body. I'm not saying like I'm top shit, like, you know, the best dancer in the world. I'm saying you can do it too. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So when I started dancing on LinkedIn, it wasn't to show off that I can dance, because that's not great dancing.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
It's just free dancing. So when I went on tour to the US and went to all the LinkedIn locals, people danced with me because, one, they trusted me, and two, it was because they could do it too. And that's what I want people to realize. That you can do it too. Yeah, if you and it's all about trust. Like, you got to trust you got to trust the person that's leading you. And that's why I talked about being a joyful. People trust me because I'm willing to get laughed at. And I'm willing to protect you. And that's why people trust me.
It sounds good. I mean, I can resonate with that, and you're really capable of making everyone dance, including, and that was the best that I saw, including the TEDx audience. That just happened a couple of weeks ago. I highly recommend to watch this video to everyone. Diana's TEDx talk. That was awesome, and basically there you really open up about your past. You share a lot of the stories, disclose like the difficulties you had in your childhood, but then you turn it really into this topic, and you mentioned just before JoyFool, right? That is a funny theme, like how joy is your caffeine. And I think especially today it's extremely important that we have more optimistic people, more joyful people. Maybe you say some sense about the term joyful with the double O that you created here.
That came by accident, joyful. And like, to be very honest, like when the Comedy Festival was cancelled 6 weeks ago, I did have very dark 4 weeks. Like, so I had depression for 4 weeks. And it's normal for artists to feel that, because, you know, to get great laughter, we have to feel quite deeply. And I have to say, when I watched my TED Talk last week and it came out, it was so wonderful to remind myself that during those dark 4 weeks, I made sure I danced, I made sure I talked to people, I made sure I went for a walk, I made sure that I implemented the joy, even though it was dark, if that makes sense. So the reason why joy is my caffeine, joyful, is so important is that it is what keeps me alive. And it's the things that I do to bring me joy that allows me to be here with you, talking to you, or allows me to entertain children. Like, before I was talking to you, I was dressed up as Elsa from Frozen.
Okay.
That's why I said to you, I need half an hour so I can get undressed.
Yeah, see, I was very nice giving you half an hour. Well, you could have come also to the show as dressed as Elsa. Why not?
So it's in those acts that's where the joyful comes from.
Okay, yeah. I mean, when you just mentioned that, and I think you posted some on LinkedIn when you prepared for that TED Talk, and that really surprised me, you know, because guys like me, like that, don't do this so often, you know, don't like to be on the stage, or it's not my profession, you know. I can understand myself. I have a certain amount of anxiety. I'm scared of it, you know. It's like I don't feel well. But then I was really surprised that you also had that, you know, and you shared it so openly that but even if it's your profession, right, you still get nervous to do this also on like some uncertainty or insecurity.
Yeah. And you have to, if you have to face uncertainty when on stage to explode.
Okay, that's also kind of caffeine that you need, or
well, I don't drink coffee, so the way that I relate to people's addiction to coffee is my joy. So yeah, so I don't understand how people can be addicted to caffeine and to be awake, because doing the arts or joy is my addiction. So that was my way of understanding that. And so when I was performing on stage, I was talking to my friend before, she said, you know, there were some really great bits in it. And I was like, and she told me which bit, and I said, I made that up when I was on stage. I improvised it. It wasn't in my script.
Yeah.
I just, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I did it.
But maybe that is the advantage of like professional artists like you, like, or actress or comedians, right? You can improvise, you can play things over it. While I would be just there and it's like, oh, what was the next sentence that I should say? You know, that's probably the big difference. So I can see also the difference of the TED Talks. You know, you're very professional, very relaxed. You know, while I just try to finish my stuff in time, you know. So it's awesome to see, and I see a big difference, of course, in the professionalism that you also have. So I think that was awesome, a really exciting talk. I mean, maybe you want to share today a little bit more as the final words, like, we know what is your joy, your pleasure, your happiness, but what is your recommendation, you know, for people, especially here in Malaysia? We're locked down since 6 weeks, I think, nowadays. People start to depress a bit, you know, so maybe you can give us some pep talk, some motivation, what you usually do.
Yeah, well, what I discovered with people is joy to everyone is different. And so I would say in these moments when it is hard and you're trying to understand and adapt to the new world, a temporary new world, I would say look back to your childhood and think about the things that you love doing. And, you know, my main things were dancing and piano and music, but also it was nature. I used to love being in the garden and pulling out the weeds. So I would say go back to that childhood and take that and take a moment of it and see how it feels. And my advice that someone gave me, and it really helped me, was live moment to moment. Yeah. And that's where you will help your anxiety. So you live moment to moment.
Okay, thank you so much. Great, that sounds good. Thanks,
Thank
Diana. So what's your next project? We heard the TV show coming up soon. I hope the lockdown soon over in Australia, so you can go back to your stand-up comedy shows, and you're going to dance now.
I can. Now I'm running out of batteries, and I'm making sure that we don't.
Okay, let me know what's up next. What are the next big projects that we can expect from you?
Yeah, so I'm on a TV show from next week. I am doing a Be Brave confidence and comedy program to help people who want to be funny, who want to build their confidence on stage, like doing a TED Talk, or just to be free and just have a laugh. I think that's really important. That's what confidence means. It's not about like how strong you are on stage, but also that you can laugh at yourself. And I really want to help people. I really want people to find that because it's freed me. Yeah. And, you know, you and I, when we first jumped on this talk, we were just laughing our heads off before we started the interview. And then we got really serious.
Mostly.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in helping people because I find, and I feel like my motivation is to help people who have really strong messages to change the world. And I want to help those people do that.
Awesome. That is great. Really happy you could make the time, or you made the time for me. Thank you so much, Diana. I refrain from saying your last name again and embarrass me a second time. Sorry for that. Probably I'll learn it next time a bit better. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for like inspiring us so much. I'm really happy about that. Wish you all the best. Good luck with your shows, and I hope you stay healthy.
And I'm just going to do, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the audience for watching. Please follow Diana on, above all, LinkedIn, but also Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I will share the links to all her profiles. Dance with her or do the karaoke with her. And happy if you come back and see the next episode next week. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Every corner of the world is experiencing disruptions, but not for Bigot, for bringing data skills and knowledge to you. Hence from leading regional data science show and now international live business virtual event right at your fingertips. Find out more about the future. Bigot 2020, the 8th annual data science show on 22nd to 23rd September 2020.